Claire Matthews had always been fascinated with rare collectibles. Living in Portland, Oregon, she spent her weekends scrolling through online shops, hunting for limited edition toys and figures. Her apartment was already filled with vintage Barbies, Funko Pops, and plushies, each carefully arranged on glass shelves. But in early autumn, she stumbled across something unusual. A late-night scroll on an obscure website revealed a listing. Original Labubu Doll, rare, authentic, not for the faint of heart. The picture stopped her cold. It wasn't like any doll she'd ever seen. Its head was oversized, its teeth sharp and gleaming in a permanent grin, with wide, glassy eyes that seemed almost alive. The seller's description was strange. Once you buy it, you can't return it. Once it chooses you, it stays. Claire laughed. She thought it was a marketing gimmick, just a way to make the toy seem mysterious. The price wasn't too high, just $50, and she couldn't resist adding such a weird piece to her collection. 2 weeks later, a small, battered box arrived at her door. Inside, wrapped in yellowed newspaper, sat the Labubu doll. The plastic felt oddly warm in her hands, heavier than it should have been for its size. Its painted grin seemed wider than in the photo. She shrugged off the unease and placed it on the shelf above her bed. That night, her nightmares began. For the next few nights, she woke up at exactly 3:03 a.m. Always the same time, always the same feeling, like something was watching her. By the end of the week, she noticed the doll had shifted positions. At first, it was subtle. Its head tilted slightly to the left one morning. Another day, its arms were positioned differently. Claire brushed it off, thinking maybe she'd nudged it while dusting. But one evening, she came home from work to find the doll sitting on her bed. Upright, waiting. She froze in the doorway. She lived alone. Nobody else had keys. Slowly, she picked it up and returned it to the shelf. For the first time, she felt genuinely unsettled. That night, her phone recorded strange noises while she slept. When she replayed the audio the next morning, her blood ran cold. There was a faint scratching sound, then a giggle, a childlike giggle that echoed through her room. She tried to convince herself it was interference, maybe her upstairs neighbor's kid. But deep down, she knew better. Her nightmares worsened. She dreamed of children whispering in the dark, their faces pale and sunken. She dreamed of being locked inside a box, unable to scream as something clawed at the wood. The doll's expression seemed to change daily. Sometimes its grin stretched wider. Sometimes its glass eyes glimmered with anger. One night, she woke to the sound of scratching, not at the door, but inside her closet. Trembling, she turned on the light. The closet door creaked open on its own. Inside, the Labubu doll sat among her shoes, staring. Panicked, she tossed the doll into the dumpster behind her building. The next morning, it was back on her bedside table. Terrified, Claire began researching. She discovered stories about Labubu dolls online. Created by a Hong Kong toy maker, these dolls weren't just art pieces. They were made with something more sinister. According to urban legend, the toy maker had mixed ashes of dead children into the clay used for the dolls, believing it would give them life. Families who owned them reported terrifying experiences. Children whispering at night, owners vanishing without explanation, dolls found clutching strands of hair or personal belongings. Claire realized she wasn't just imagining things. The doll was cursed. Desperate to rid herself of it, she tried burning the doll in her fireplace. But when the flames roared high, she realized the box she had placed inside was empty. A cold laugh echoed behind her. She turned and saw the Labubu doll standing on her bed, larger than before, its plastic grin stretching unnaturally wide. Its glass eyes blinked for the first time. It whispered her name, Claire. She screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the darkness that filled the room. Shadows wrapped around her, dragging her toward the doll. Its tiny plastic hands gripped her wrists with unnatural strength. The last thing she saw before the world went black was the doll's smile, stretching wider than any human mouth could. The next morning, Claire's apartment was silent. Her roommate, who had returned from a weekend trip, found the door unlocked. Inside, everything looked normal, except for one detail. On the bed sat the Labubu doll, upright and grinning. In its tiny hand, it clutched Claire's necklace. Claire was never seen again. 2 weeks later, the doll appeared in an online auction, listed by an anonymous seller. The description read, "Original Labubu doll, rare, authentic, not for the faint of heart." And someone, somewhere clicked by now